What's going on, guys? JSGC here, back again for another Manchester City video. Today we're going to have a look at Manchester City's squad, and as we head towards the January transfer window, we're going to have a look at Manchester City's squad. We're going to have a look at which players, in my opinion, I'd keep or sell, and also have a look at what kind of players and which players Manchester City maybe could look towards targeting for the January transfer window. So before I do crack on with this video, make sure, like always, if you are enjoying the content, do subscribe to my channel. It is free to subscribe. I'm going to be doing daily Manchester City transfer updates from January 1st for you guys to enjoy here on YouTube, keeping you guys up to date with all the latest City transfer news every single day. So if you haven't already, do subscribe. It is free. Social media links there in the description if you want to go and follow me on my Twitter, Instagram and TikTok. Email also in the description too if you want to hit me up for any sponsorships for any videos or any general business inquiries. Don't forget to leave a thumbs up as well, that would be great. And also don't forget to let me know your thoughts in the comments below, including who would you sell at Manchester City and which players would you like to see Manchester City potentially bring in the January transfer window. I highly doubt any of the City first team squad will be leaving on a permanent basis, and if Man City do choose to dip into the market, more than likely it'll be one player brought in. Maybe we might see two players brought in. We will have to wait and see. So this is more in context, having a look at the end of the season. So I'm talking here June, July of 2025, and looking at the squad and seeing which players Man City should sell and which players Man City may look to target to bring in. So we're going to start off first. We're going to go through every single player, and I'm going to tell you their age, and I'm going to tell you if I'm going to sell or keep them and give my reasonings behind them decisions. So we're going to start off first with the goalkeeper. Who's going to start off with Manchester City's number one, what would be classed as City's number one, Ederson, who's currently 31 years old. And I would choose to sell Ederson. I think the decision for City to make this summer is Ederson or Ortega. One of them is going to leave. And with Ederson being 31 years old and Ortega being 32 years old, I look at the two goalkeepers and I'm thinking to myself, with the interest that came in last summer in Ederson, I feel like there's a higher value in Ederson that City will be able to let Ederson leave, get some money, and look towards targeting bringing in a younger goalkeeper, a goalkeeper who Manchester City could see potentially as their new number one for the next 10, 15 years. Someone like a Diogo Costa, for example. So I reckon Ederson potentially could leave, so I'd sell him, but I would keep Stefan Ortega-Moreno at the club. And the other goalkeeper that City have got is Scott Carson. So what we do with Scott Carson is we put him on a rolling one-year contract, so we could choose to put him on a new deal. If we don't choose to put him on a new deal, then I would promote Manchester City young goalkeeper Max Hudson for a season to the City first team as the third choice goalkeeper. Let him have a taste of the first team action around all of the players and the facilities and stuff, see how he gets on, and then potentially look to maybe loan him or sell him, and then we end up going with a little bit of a conveyor belt where whichever goalkeeper's in the academy they're promoting, they become the new third choice goalkeeper, or we go out and sign another experienced goalkeeper to act as the third choice keeper. Man City will be looking for a homegrown option. You've got to have a homegrown quota. 8 players homegrown in England, 4 players homegrown by Manchester City themselves. So to me, perfect chance just to put a tick there next to a young academy goalkeeper that ticks all the boxes that City are looking for. Now moving on to the defence, this is where things get really interesting. So Rico Lewis, 20 years old. For me, I would keep him. Kyle Walker, though, 34 years old, I would sell him, and I'd look to bring in a new right-sided defender for Manchester City. Been getting linked a lot with Jeremy Frimpong over at Bayer Leverkusen. Apparently got a release clause of less than £40 million, a very affordable option. Now, he loves to bomb forward. Now, City ever want to go to a back three, someone like Frimpong would be perfect, because I feel like he'd occupy better as a right wing-back or a right winger rather than a solid defensive right-back. So if we do go down that route, I also think that a centre-back would need to be signed who can help cover on that right-hand side who could occupy as a right-back if we ever want to go with a four-man defence. So to me, Frimpong defensively won't be able to cut it at Manchester City, but a really good option on the right-hand side. And if Kyle Walker does leave, I would be looking towards adding another defender on top of Frimpong being brought in. Frimpong, of course, though, would offer something much different to what Manchester City currently have. And right now, as I'm making this video, there's talk that even for the Manchester derby this weekend, Matheus Nunes could be covering at right-back. That's how the form has been for Kyle Walker. I don't see him being at Manchester City past this summer. Rico Lewis, is he a defender? Is he a central midfielder? What direction do we want to go in? Well, to me, defenders are important. I feel like we need a right-sided defender. I feel like Frimpong would be one good option, but I'd go with a centre-back who can also cover on that right-hand side. Ruben Dias, I would keep him, and I would make him Manchester City's new captain. John Stones, this is interesting because to me, with how injury-prone him and Nathan Ake have been, I wouldn't sell both of them because I think you're looking at too much of a rebuild job done in just one window. I would sell one and keep the other. John Stones is 1 year older than Nathan Ake, and also John Stones has just been more injury prone than anybody else in the City squad. I still feel like City could get a good value for him. He's a homegrown player, as is Nathan Ake as well, but I just feel like with English tax we could get a little bit more for John Stones. So I'd sell John Stones in the summer, and I'd be looking towards trying to sign a centre-back who perhaps can help cover in defensive midfield, or a defensive midfielder who can help cover at centre-back, because what's the point in having these world-class football players if they're just never fit and we're not going to see them? Pointless in my opinion, and that's one part of the reason why City's squad has really struggled this season. Manuel Akanji, 29 years old, I'd keep him for versatility. Nathan Ake, I'd keep him for at least another season, see if he can prove his fitness. If he can, keep him ahead of that, but John Stones I let go. Simpson Pusey, I'd keep him around the squad. Josko Gvardiol, I'd keep him as well. Joshua Wilson-Esbrand, loan him, sell him. He's not getting any minutes, so I don't see what he would offer to Manchester City, so I'd probably let JWE leave. Into midfield, Rodri, 28 years old, keep him obviously. Ilkay Gundogan, 34, his contract's up in the summer. There is the possibility for that deal to be extended, or it could be triggered to be extended as long as certain clauses are met. Unclear about what them clauses are, but if a trigger doesn't come in for that new contract for Ilkay Gundogan, I'd let him leave on a free contract in the summer, and I'd look to try and freshen up that midfield. He's 34 at the end of the day, so bringing in, you know, a 22, 23-year-old central midfielder would help bring down that average age of the squad. It'd really help with that. Mateo Kovacic, 30 years old, keep again. Everyone's going to be like, sell, let this player go, let's let this player go. 10, 11, 12 players, it's not going to happen. Unrealistic. City aren't going to let 10 or 11 senior first team players leave the team in one window. Not going to happen, so you've just got to find the balance. Man City seem to be looking towards 4 to 6 players leaving and 4 to 6 players being brought in as ready-made replacements for these players, whilst helping to bring that average age of the squad down. So for that, I'd keep Kovacic, see if he can prove his fitness for another season and then assess from there. But if a good offer does come in from Kovacic, then maybe I'd be tempted to sell. He is 30 years old and has been a little injury prone during his time at Manchester City. So if there's another option out there that's affordable to City, then I would consider that. Nico O'Reilly, I'd keep him, maybe loan him, potentially. Certainly wouldn't sell him. Jacob Wright, again, same with him. Keep him, maybe loan him to see how the homegrown quotas go in with Manchester City. Kalvin Phillips is classed as a senior first team player on loan at Ipswich. I'd be selling him even if it means getting no cash. As long as he's off the wage bill, it helps Kalvin Phillips to move on with his career. It helps Manchester City to move on as well, saving some money on the wage bill. I'd cut my losses. Kalvin Phillips would leave. Maximo Perrone, I think Man City will look to sell him in the summer. I don't think City are going to utilise him. I'd like to see more from him, but I just don't think that's going to happen. With Claudio Echeverri coming in instead in January, I think we're probably going to see a little more of him than what we did with Perrone. So we'll see what happens, but I reckon he'll be sold. Phil Foden, 24 years old, keep him. Matheus Nunes, 26, I'd keep him. Kevin De Bruyne, I'd like to keep him, but I think he's off, if I'm being honest. So I think Kevin De Bruyne is going to leave, and we are going to cross that bridge this summer where we're going to need a Kevin De Bruyne long-term replacement, which will mean Manchester City may need to spend very big in the summer to bring in a Kevin De Bruyne replacement. At the moment, he's one of the most passionate players that we've got, one of our best creative options as well. He'll be a huge loss, but he is one of the highest paid players at the club. So what's going to happen there if he does sign a new deal? It'll be for a lot of money to keep him here. I don't think he's happy with a 12-month rolling contract. He's got offers they're going to be big offers as well, coming in from San Diego, coming in from Saudi Arabia as well, that are going to be worth a lot of money. So I'd like to keep him, but I think he's going to leave. James McAtee, I would sell him. Offers of north of £20 million. I'd put a buyback in there. It's got to be in there, and I'd sell McAtee. Again, like many of the other young players, we've got an injury crisis yet. He's not featuring. If he's not featuring now, he isn't going to feature. So you may as well cash the chips in whilst the stock's very high and get a good amount and promote another academy player to make do with the squad. Bernardo Silva, 30 years old, being ruthless here, but I love Bernardo to bits, but I'd sell him. He's a very versatile player. He wants to leave Manchester City. I feel like Man City could still get a good amount for Bernardo Silva with him still having, I think, 12 months left on his contract. And I'd look to try and freshen the team up and bring in somebody younger, somebody fresher and fitter who could help bring down the average age of that squad and provide more energy for Man City's midfield and or out wide, which is why someone like Jeremy Frimpong may make sense, because you've already got right wing covered along with right back and right wing back as well, which means we could then focus on central midfielders and attacking midfielders rather than looking out wide, because you've already got them options there. In terms of attack, Savinho, 20 years old, needs his second season, so I'd keep him. Jack Grealish, 29 years old. It'll split opinion this, but I think for at least another season is worthwhile keeping around the squad and see how he gets on. Jeremy Doku, good age, 22, keep him. Oscar Bobb as well, 21, keep him. Erling Haaland, 24, keep him as well. Just feel like we need a little bit more depth in attack, and signing a backup striker would be something I would look at in the January transfer window. And interesting comments have come out today from Pep Guardiola praising Erling Haaland for the amount of minutes that he's doing. He's super impressed with how he's performing and how many minutes he's doing, but there is obviously some concern about fatigue and injury for him, so we need a plan B and a backup striker. So I won't be surprised to see City maybe look at that in the January window rather than in the summer. So Pep Guardiola, the final one. Manager, 53 years old. I'd keep Pep Guardiola. He's the best manager in the world. There isn't another manager that I would want at Manchester City to help us through a transitional period. He is the man that can lead Manchester City forward into another dynasty. Just needs time, needs backing, and as long as Pep's in the right state of mind to lead Manchester City into battle, I would stick with Pep Guardiola. Wouldn't sack him. Pep Guardiola wants to leave though. That's a different matter. That's up to Pep Guardiola. He makes the decision rather than everybody else making that decision. I know we're on a poor run of form, but there's nobody else out there. Like, literally, you could put any suggestion into the comments and I'll just be like, Pep's a better manager. Makes no sense to do that. It's a very emotional reaction to a bad situation that we find ourselves in at this moment in time. So, in terms of my selling, Scott Carson, he leaves. I replace him with Hudson. Ederson, he leaves. I replace him with a new keeper. I'd love Diogo Costa here. Kyle Walker, he leaves. I'd love Jeremy Frimpong back at the club. John Stones, he leaves. We need a new versatile centre-back who can potentially cover in defensive midfield, or a defensive midfielder who can help cover centre-back. Joshua Wilson-Esbrand, if he leaves, we need to promote a new academy player to help make them numbers back. Ilkay Gundogan, if he leaves, we need a new central midfielder / defensive midfielder. So that could be someone like Ederson, it could be Zubimendi or somebody along them lines. Kalvin Phillips, he leaves. I would like to see someone like Bruno G brought in to help in midfield. I feel like whilst we'll let Kalvin Phillips leave, we've always looked one short in midfield. So Kalvin Phillips isn't coming back. So I'd really look towards trying to bring in a midfielder in January, and it's got to be one of Ederson, Zubimendi or Bruno Guimaraes as far as I'm concerned. Got to be one of them three, and the other players that I've mentioned there, I'd be making offers for them in the summer if they're not brought in January. Perrone, I let him leave and I'd use Echeverri. I'd let McAtee leave and promote an academy lad if we need to. Bernardo leaves, potentially we could be looking at a backup striker or an attacking midfielder, and then obviously Kevin De Bruyne, if he leaves we need a Kevin De Bruyne replacement. So we are looking here between 6 and 8 senior first team players leaving that need replacing. So there's a lot of business that needs to be done. And this summer window coming up, being led by Hugo Viana, the sporting director over at Sporting Club de Portugal, that's joining Manchester City in the summer. He's got his work cut out, and to me, Man City can help make his life a little easier and Man City's life a little easier. Chicky, he's leaving, could depart with a very good gift by giving Manchester City a couple of really good signings in January. May just be the boost that the fans need, that the squad needs, that everybody needs right now, as far as I'm concerned. I know Pep's come out and says he wants his players back from injuries. That's what he wants more than anything, rather than players being brought in. But we're not going to have a fully fit squad all season. Not going to happen due to the severity of injuries to the likes of Rodri and Oscar Bobb. And because of that, I'd be dipping into the market, ease the legs and pressure on Erling Haaland, bring in a central defensive midfielder so we don't have to rue the impact of Rodri's injury as much, try and get players back from injury, try and protect the fitness of the players, and look to see if we can go from there. If we want to insist on this formation that we're going with this three at the back and inverting a full-back and, you know, having right-backs playing in central midfield and stuff, you need players that fit these systems and can play in these systems on a consistent basis every 3 to 4 days, that allows us to remain competitive in the Champions League, in the Premier League, in the FA Cup. That's what City's focus has got to be. Right now, we're in control of our destiny. We're in control of where we want to go here for the season. We've got a big push now, last few games before we head into the January market, get a couple of signings in and boost our squad morale, and look to go from there and see if we can have a good, strong second half of the season like we normally get. It's all about sticking with what we need to focus on now. Try and remain in the top 4 between now and January. Try and ensure that we win the Manchester derby at the weekend. Take things one game at a time. And in the Champions League, we've got a couple of big games in Paris against PSG next, and then against Club Brugge in the Etihad Stadium in the Champions League. We know if we can pick up 6 points from them when we're comfortably into the playoffs, more than likely just one win will be needed for City to make the playoffs. We don't want it to get too tight down there. So what we want to do is just ensure we get into the playoffs, and then comes a knockout, and when it's knockout football, Man City are one of the best in Europe at being able to do that. So we will see where we go from there. So there we go. That has been today's video. If you did enjoy this video, please do leave a thumbs up. That would be much appreciated. Do let me know your thoughts in the comments below, including which players do you want to keep and which players do you want to sell, and if you are selling, who are you replacing them with? Let me know in the comments below. Also, don't forget as well to subscribe if you're new around here. Press that red button, press the bell, and put your push notifications on. Social media links, they're in the description if you want to go and follow me on my Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Email also in the description too if you want to hit me up for any sponsorships for any videos or any general business inquiries. And I'll see you all again tomorrow for the next Manchester City video, where I'll have my preview out for the Manchester derby with City taking on United at the Etihad Stadium on Sunday. I've got my Premier League predictions already live on my channel if you want to go and check that out. That's the last video that I put out here on the JSGC channel. So I'll see you then. So I've been JSGC. Thank you everyone for watching. I hope everyone is safe and well. Peace. Ciao for now.